The clink of champagne glasses faded into a dead silence. I stood at my son's wedding reception, the warmth of the room replaced by a cold dread. My new daughter-in-law, Eliza, was holding a microphone, her smile sweet, but her eyes like ice. She had just finished a toast that began with thanks, but ended with a story, a carefully crafted story, about my late husband's failed business. She painted us as well-meaning but foolish, a family who didn't understand real success. The humiliation was a physical weight, pressing me into my seat. In that moment, I saw my son's pained face, and I knew this was more than a simple mistake. This was a calculated move. My husband, James, passed away 5 years ago. He was a dreamer, a man who built a small, modestly successful hardware store from nothing. We weren't rich, but we were happy. We raised our son, Ben, in a home filled with love, not luxury. After James was gone, the store provided a comfortable, quiet life for me. Ben was the center of my world, a kind, hard-working young man who became a talented graphic designer. When he met Eliza, he was smitten. She was beautiful, ambitious, and came from a world of private clubs and designer labels that was foreign to us. I was happy for him. I welcomed her into our family with open arms, hosting dinners and remembering her birthday. But I began to notice small things. The way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes when I served a simple, home-cooked meal. The subtle comments about our quaint little house. She came from money, and she had a clear expectation of the life Ben should provide. Ben changed, subtly. He started talking about networking and investment opportunities with a new intensity. He became quieter, more reserved during our weekly phone calls. When they got engaged, Eliza insisted on a lavish wedding, far beyond what Ben could comfortably afford. I offered to help with a significant portion of my savings, a gift from my heart, and from the legacy of his father's store. I saw it as an investment in their happiness. I never imagined it would be the price of admission for my own humiliation. The wedding day was beautiful, all white lace and sparkling lights. I felt nothing but joy for my son. Then came the reception. Eliza stood for her toast. She thanked her parents, her friends, and then she turned her gaze to me. "And I have to thank my new mother-in-law," she began, her voice syrupy sweet. "She's been so supportive. She even gave us a very generous gift from the proceeds of her little hardware store." She paused, letting the words "little hardware store" hang in the air. "It's so touching, really. It reminds me of a story Ben told me about his dad. He had this big idea to expand the store, a real passion project. But, well," she gave a light, tinkling laugh, "let's just say the business sense didn't quite match the heart. It's a good lesson, isn't it? That sentiment doesn't pay the bills." The air left the room. All eyes were on me. She had taken a private, painful memory of James's single professional setback, a risk he took that didn't pay off, and used it as a punchline to demonstrate her own superiority. I looked at Ben. He was staring at his plate, his jaw tight, unable to meet my eyes. My generous gift had been framed as a pathetic donation from a failed family. The woman I had welcomed as a daughter had just declared war on our family's memory. I left the wedding early, pleading a headache. The silence in my car was deafening. 4 days, I waited for a phone call from Ben. An apology, an explanation. It never came. When I finally saw him, He was defensive. "Mom, you're overreacting," he said, not looking at me. "Eliza was just trying to be funny. She didn't mean it like that." His words were a betrayal all on their own. He was choosing to protect her cruelty over his own mother's feelings. The invitations to Sunday dinners stopped. My calls went unanswered for days. When I did visit their new, expensive apartment, the atmosphere was cold. Eliza would make comments about upgrading my old furniture or suggest I treat myself to a new wardrobe, her tone dripping with faux concern. I felt like a relic, an embarrassment to their new, shiny life. The loneliness was immense. I'd sit in James's old armchair, the house feeling too big and too quiet. I started looking at my budget, worrying about the future after giving away such a large part of my savings. I felt cornered, emotionally and financially. My own son had become a stranger, and his wife held the key to a door that was now locked against me. A few months later, I was looking for an old photo of James in Ben's childhood bedroom to make a scrapbook for a relative. In a box of his old school things, I found a slim, black journal I'd never seen before. It was from his late teenage years. My heart ached, thinking of the boy he used to be. I flipped it open, and a folded document fell out. It was a loan agreement. It was between Ben and Eliza's father. A very large loan, for a down payment on their apartment. The terms were strict, with a high interest rate. And it was co-signed by Eliza. Stuck to the back of the agreement was a sticky note in Ben's handwriting. It read, "Mr. R. says this secures our future. Eliza says it's time I start acting like I come from her world. I just hope Mom never finds out." The pieces clicked into place with a sickening clarity. The pressure, the distance, the humiliation. It wasn't just about Eliza's snobbery. It was about control. Ben was trapped, financially bound to her family, and ashamed to tell me. The power balance shifted in my heart. I was no longer just a hurt mother-in-law. I was the only person who knew the truth of my son's cage. I didn't call Ben. I didn't confront anyone. I placed the journal back exactly as I found it. I went home, made a cup of tea, and I thought. A dramatic scene would only give Eliza more ammunition to paint me as the unstable, emotional mother. My plan was not about revenge. It was about liberation. I needed to find a way to break that financial hold without Ben ever knowing I'd found the document. I couldn't just give him the money. His pride and their agreement would never allow it. I met with my financial advisor, a kind, sharp woman named Angela, who had helped James and me for years. I laid out the situation without using names. "I need to find a way to give a significant financial gift to a family member," I said. "But it cannot look like a gift. It has to look like luck or an investment paying off." Angela, God bless her, didn't ask too many questions. She simply nodded. We looked at my assets. There was one thing, a small, forgotten piece of land James had bought as a young man as a long-term investment. It had been sitting, virtually worthless, for decades. Recently, a developer had been sniffing around the area. We decided to quietly explore selling it. The money would be life-changing. It would be my quiet countermove. A way to pay off that debt without my son ever knowing it came from me. The sale of the land went through more quickly than I'd imagined. The sum was substantial. I didn't deposit it. I arranged for a cashier's check. I invited Ben and Eliza over for dinner, telling them I'd made his favorite pot roast. They arrived, Eliza looking politely bored. After dessert, I slid the sealed envelope across the table to Ben. He looked confused. "What's this, Mom?" "Open it later," I said, my voice calm. "It's something your father left for you. A final investment. He always wanted you to be free of debt." Eliza's polite mask slipped for a second, her eyes flicking to the envelope with sharp interest. Ben looked touched, but confused. "Dad?" "But, his business. Your father was a lot of things, Ben," I said, looking directly at him, my gaze steady. "But he was never a failure. He took calculated risks. Some worked, some didn't. But his greatest success was always providing a safe, loving home for his family. He wanted to make sure you had that, too. No strings attached." I then turned to Eliza. "I hope it helps you both build the life you want." My tone was gracious, but my eyes held hers. It was a quiet message, I know. "And I have just dismantled your leverage. The color drained from her face. She understood immediately. The power in the room shifted completely. It wasn't a victory shout, it was a silent, profound realization that the woman she had underestimated held the key all along. Ben paid off the loan. The change in him was gradual but profound. The constant tension in his shoulders eased. He started calling me again, just to talk. The invitations returned. Eliza is civil. The pretense is gone, replaced by a distant, wary respect. We are not close, and we may never be. But the poison has been drawn from the wound. This real-life story taught me that the most profound betrayals often come wrapped in family. I learned that the most dignified response to cruelty is not to fight fire with fire, but to build a better shelter. My quiet comeback wasn't about winning. It was about freeing my son and reclaiming my family's legacy. The strongest foundations are not made of money, but of quiet strength and unshakable love. If this emotional story about family and forgiveness resonated with you, please share your own thoughts in the comments. For more calm, reflective real-life stories, like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.